Hey, good morning, Dr. Fuller.
Good morning, Mr. Brown. How are you today?
Oh, you know, fair to Midland.
Standing tall in the face of adversity.
Speaking of that, after you guys left, I couldn't even take Will to the airport Saturday morning.
Really?
I was sick as a dog, man. My brother had to step into the breach and take Will to the airport. One time I was sick on ship 30 something years ago as a young Marine and just, missed an entire op and stayed in the rack for like 17 hours straight. And then this Saturday, I think I broke that record. I was in the rack like 18 or 19 hours. Sick as a freaking dog, man. So thank God it held off to the end of HREC. Oof.
You know, you might avoid that if you didn't sleep in a room that actually has frost in the bedroom. I'm just going to put that out there because I've been coughing since I got home.
You don't know how hard it was for me to not put that picture of you in the bed all snuggled up. I mean, I was like,
No shame, buddy, because I have slept in some cold places, but they've always been outdoors. All right.
Until you got to my house.
Until I got to your house. You could hang meat in that room, especially that first night.
I'll take that as a badge of honor.
You should. You should. I mean, I'll be battling with my annual bout of bronchitis here shortly because of this, but nonetheless, you should lean into this.
Yeah, I caught a stomach bug or something, and man, it just put me on my rear end. Jim is on. Jim, you're going to enjoy today's show. Jim was an attendee at our American Warrior Camp this year. We got Will Rhodes is on. Derek is on. Please like and hit that share button. And I know Dr. Fuller's got a heart out, so we will jump right into it. HREC High Risk Environment Course 2025 A Requiem. You like that, Dr. Fuller?
That's nice. And oh, by the way, you should also take pride in the fact that your infectious use of Dr. Fuller in every possible opportunity has spread to many of the attendees at HREC. I could not get people to just call me TC.
Good. My work here is done.
It's for those who are not regular viewers of the show. The only people in my entire life that call me Dr. Fuller are thanks to Rich Brown.
Yeah, during us teaching together, co-facilitating together, you were like, Rich is the only one that does this. And by the end of it, now you've got 20-something acolytes who only will refer to you for Dr.
I will admit that occasionally when an MD wants to throw out, oh, hi, TC, I'm Dr. Brown, then I'll pull it out. Because I'm like, okay, if we're gonna stand on ceremony, then let's stand on ceremony. But other than that, I don't do that.
And we did have an MD in the class, so
we did, and he calls me TC.
Oh, man. Shameful. We also have Michael Gentili on this morning. Please like and hit that share button. And without much further ado, there is your graduating class from American Warrior Society High Risk Environment Course 2025. As you can see from the little blacked out faces, we did have two gentlemen because of their jobs, their current employment with Uncle Sam. They cannot be photographed, and they were not photographed. We held strict adherence to those rules to protect them and their identities. Brian is on from North Texas.
We also had one minor, right? Or we had two minors, but one that didn't want a photo on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we respect that as well. There's a million reasons in 2025 why you might not want your face associated with stuff like that, Let's get into it, Dr. Fuller. Why run a course like this? Well, to me, like, this is where you are now, And here's a couple of quotes I pulled off your Instagram site.
I'm not here trying to push back the frontiers of ignorance, Rich.
Yes, you are. You're doing okay. Good job.
I'm not witty enough to come up with these things myself, but you got to admit, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca were very quotable fellows.
Well, we can always, the Stoics were very quotable, and I think their lessons are very applicable today. One of them, Seneca here, life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. Well, if you're trained and prepared, you shouldn't fear the future. You're aware of what's going on. You're aware of your surroundings. You realize that, you may be attacked for your beliefs. This is just part of the landscape in today's America. But here's another one from Marcus Aurelius. You can also commit injustice by doing nothing. I had a colonel that said, there are crimes of omission and commission. Don't just think that, these are crimes of commission. You can You can sit there and know that a Marine is doing wrong and you do nothing, and well, you're just as guilty. So,
yeah, I mean, I think you can make a strong argument for the majority of the crimes of the German people under the Nazi regime were crimes of omission, willful blindness. You know, I don't want to know, I don't want to see, so I'm not going to look.
Yeah. Mark is on from Australia. Derek is on this morning, and so is Brian Schuler. Thank you guys for being on, and please like and hit that share button. So there's a reason why we put this curriculum together. We want to keep our community safer, and this is one way that we can do it. Because I'll be honest with you, man, we haven't done one of these for years because I'll be just completely open kimono with everybody. There's a lot of freaking work, and for very little scratch. I mean, by the time I pay all the bills on this, you know, the lodging and the food and the administrative costs and the instructor fees and airline tickets and all the stuff to get everything here, and the weeks and weeks that we all had to work to put it together, you know, it's not going to keep the lights on, you know. So again, and if I charge what it should be charged, I mean, nobody could afford to come. So these are kind of almost like a public service, you know.
Yeah, that was the basis of the founding of the American Warrior Society, was not to, as I understand it, was not to become wealthy, but rather to spread the word.
Yeah.
And I'm the first to tell you, you undercharged for what you delivered last week. And a lot of the things were included in the upfront fee, which was, you know, someone had to pay for it, and it came out of your end. And I think that's laudable. But you're right, that's a lot of work, and a lot of it was done by Miss Lisa. Your lovely bride was in there swinging behind the scenes, doing the logistics, running hither and yon, picking up food, driving it 45 minutes or an hour out into the hinterlands of the Cumberland Plateau.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to some of that, because you're right, man. And there's all the warts behind the scenes that I hope are completely transparent. Like, we were having some car trouble, and just, it was like everything Murphy could throw at us this week, man, he was swinging, and Miss Lisa just rolled with it. God bless her. Mark Hamilton is on. Dr. Fuller from up there in Ontario. Our good friend Doug, as I won't say his real name, is on from sunny Columbus, Ohio, coin number 78. He is an OG for show. Another thing that this, you know, a lot of people came to me. This is the first time we did American Warrior Camp where we openly expressed our Christian views. There was prayers before a lot of the events to keep each other safe. You know, this kind of thing. We had some prayer meetings in the mornings, and I'm like, you know what? After they killed Charlie Kirk and they're slaughtering Christians in Nigeria, nobody seems to care. You know, I'm like, okay, the veil is coming off. I'm not hiding it anymore, and, you know, let the chips fall where they may. But
well, on the flip side being, people are openly praying to other pantheons. So, I mean, as we discussed before, religion is sort of not my game, but I see your point. I mean, you know, a lot of folks have made headway on the silence of people who believe as you believe.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, it was also in your house.
Yeah,
true. People are going to break bread in your home. You know.
Yeah, and if it bothers you, there's the hatch right there, pal. Grab your keys and head on out. Tony is on this morning, so is Alan Kelly, our good friend up there, triple occupied Virginia. Oh my God!
I'm going to start sending him concertina wire and sandbags.
I like Virginia. So let's talk about the curriculum, Dr. Fuller. Kind of talk us through what this year's curriculum was about.
Well, it was a high-risk environment course. So existing was the overarching theme. So we sort of existing in a higher risk environment, and what are some of the skill sets that you may think of, and some of the skill sets you may not think of that would be useful in that environment. Led off the first day with Justin Carroll's incredibly abbreviated and yet an entire day of picking locks and non-destructive breaching.
Yeah.
A skill set that I think a lot of people think, "Oh, I'd like to know that," but where do you go to learn it? Well, I'll tell you what, one great place to learn is from Justin Carroll. He did a phenomenal job of teaching it before. I mean, some of us had some lockpicking training of a sort prior to that, and it was still some of the best lockpicking training I've ever had.
Yeah, and Justin, of course, taught that at the Special Operations Schoolhouse, I think under the banner of Special Reconnaissance. But we also had Will Parker teaching his Saber Red endorsed OC spray, so pepper spray course.
Which is another course that, you know, I think those of us who are law enforcement don't ever think about. We, of course, all get certified with stuff, get sprayed, and all have that happy shenanigans. But where does, John Q. Public go to get trained, actually trained in how to use pepper spray? Because there's more to it than just, make man orange head.
There is? Hold on a minute.
Well, right off the bat, the law, right?
Oh,
okay. Right? So you need that. Where do you actually spray? How much do you actually spray? What does it actually do when you do spray it? Things I think that are relevant, but people just don't get trained on. And again, where do you go? Maybe you can find a Saber Red course in your neighborhood. Maybe you don't. But do you really think that that's a good idea? And do you ever think to do it?
I totally agree with you. I mean, I was out there using this stuff with no, seriously. I mean, as a bouncer, I didn't have any training in it, other than, I think the club would sell you a can, for X dollars, and then you're free to use it. But yeah, so that was incredibly important. And then we had the law self-defense level 1, and I shouldn't call it that. It was, I don't remember what exactly it was called, but it was Will Parker's version of an amalgamation of Andrew Bronca's course, Legal Heat, and another one that he's certified in. So he kind of took that and put it together, made a really compelling 6-hour use of force class. And then, of course, we had TAC Med with Justin Carroll, who's a paramedic as well. Steve Glenner taught some weapon retention and unarmed self-defense. You and I, Dr. Fuller, did an amazing job teaching.
Is brilliant too strong a word? I think we should let history decide. But, not all heroes wear capes, Rich.
That is true, sir. But I think students enjoyed that. We did one on vehicle CQB and some concealed carry tips, how to dress to the gun, all this kind of neat stuff. And then we let Mike Seeklener have his way with the crowd with the defensive handgun course, including low light. We'll get some pictures of that. Lunches were provided each and every day, as well as a social event and guided bourbon tasting.
And again, where do you go for as a citizen for vehicle CQB? There are classes out there, but not everybody wants to fight in Fallujah. And this was not that class. This was fighting away from a grocery store or a gas station or something. And of course, Seeklender's class, I thought you went above and beyond by not just ordering up low light, but foul weather. That was pretty impressive, the way you brought in the cold weather and rain. And I'll tell you what, I didn't hear a single person complain. Soaked to the bone, freezing cold by the end of the day. But it's real world training.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because you're absolutely right. And I'm going to hammer that home. Alan Kelly's on, says, I'm a Saber Red instructor. Matt is on from Tulsa. Dr. Siebert is on. Good morning, guys. Long time no see. And of course, Doc was there last week with us. Will Parker was there also. He is on this morning. And, so the dates were posted. I think we put this out in March, Dr. Fuller, that this was coming. And then signups were maybe available in June. I don't remember.
Well, I think you have to for something like this, just for scheduling purposes, right? People that are going to come to something like this, they need to schedule the week of class plus the travel time on the end. Maybe have to finance it. Set the money aside. I think you have to put it out months in advance.
Yeah, and so bottom line up front, I'm planning on probably doing 2 next year. They may each have a different theme. I'll be working with you and Mike and Will and Justin to kind of and some other folks to come up with maybe 2 different themes, 2 different price points, 2 different curriculums. So if one set of dates next year won't work for you, maybe the other one would. And but this year, everybody arrived on Sunday and departed on Friday afternoon. We had it here in town of Crossville, Tennessee. We were able to use Marksman's 30-acre outdoor range. We used the Clyde M. York. That's of Sergeant York fame, the Medal of Honor winner from World War I. It's actually, I think this, but maybe everybody else doesn't. It's on the grounds of an old World War II German prisoner of war camp. And they did a really good job of hosting us. Lodging, meals, range fees, certifications, social events, everything was included in your one-time upfront cost of $17.95. That's going to have to go up, guys. I can't eat costs like that and stay married to lovely Miss Lisa. So the cost will probably have to go. We limited it to 20 students. Guess how many we had, Dr. Fuller?
I'm going to go with 20.
20 students. You're right. There's the curriculum. I won't belabor it, but that's kind of how this is the form Mike and I use for our 1-week curriculum. And good luck.
Interesting thing I found about that, it was, a lot of times you go to these schools and it says, okay, we'll be done at 5, and maybe we're knocking off at 3:30, 4 o'clock, especially later in the week as people start to get a little bit more tired, really working hard all week. Not here. This thing ran past, shutdown time on the schedule every night. In addition to, and I think I'm sure you're going to get into this, is in addition to the cross-pollination and the networking that took place by lodging everybody together.
I think that was one of the biggest things, don't you?
I do. I really do. I mean, I've been to, a couple schools in my day, and I've always found that if you put people in hotels off-site and you cut them loose for lunch, that it really diminishes the impact of not only what's been taught in the class, but it diminishes the potential for networking, for making those human connections, for sharing those stories, for learning from other people's perspective. That was really a big, albeit understated part of this course.
Yeah, Jim says the schedule was excellent. Well, thank you, Jim. That's a wonderful proof source. Gigi is on. Doc's beautiful wife. Good morning, Gigi. We also really were blessed to have Taylor, YouTube influencer from Defenders and Disciples, was there and recorded the entire course, almost 2 terabytes of data. So be on the lookout for that video to come out. I'm really excited to see what he was able to put together. Taylor and his videographer was there, and they had drones flying. They were they were taking close-up video of the rivers of rain were coming down. It was pretty cool.
Now, do you know, is he going to do one long-form video and a bunch of tiny reels, or how is he going to eventually put this out? Do you know?
That's a great question. I do know that his videographer, I say that tongue in cheek, but she really is his videographer. She's an incredibly well-trained videographer, his daughter. And I want to say the theme is going to be a father-daughter week unlike no other, which I think is just really cool.
I do. There was 2 father-child pairs in the class, as you recall. And I'm very jealous, not just for the training that the children receive, but also just the opportunity, as any parent knows, just the opportunity to go somewhere with one of your kids and just hang out doing something fun that you both enjoy for 5 solid days. I mean, that's invaluable. It really is.
And before you start clutching your pearls and, oh my God, they had teenage kids out there on the range doing this high-speed shooting, guys, they're probably better shooters than a lot of people that's going to hear my sound of my voice. They compete regularly, and they are incredibly good gun handlers. And I knew that going into it. So would you
True
agree?
Of your son, who was in the class also.
Yes, of course. He's 28, but yeah, it was wonderful to have Grant there. Of course, it's funny, man. Every day I look around and go, oh, he's here, because I'm so, as you know, so busy. I don't even. Oh yeah, the Crossville Chronicle was also there that did a story on it as well. So
I never did see the photographer. Did he show up on Friday?
I don't know. It's a great question.
You might have to put some photos to the paper.
The guy that did come out, the reporter, I think he took the photos as well. So John Shriver is on. Gladys, Gigi says, as a female, I greatly appreciate learning with such an incredible group. Well, thank you. Thank you, Gigi. So Taylor was there. This was the lodge that all the folks stayed in. I think it had 10 rooms, maybe 12.
You can't really see the 2 wings off to the left and right side where the rooms were. That what you're basically looking at there is the entrance to the central node of the building, correct?
That's exactly right. And you can see the rocking chairs in the front and stuff like that. There's hiking trails and lakes and stuff like that. But I say all that to say, we wanted people to be comfortable in an outdoor setting, places that they could break bread. There's a big common area with a big fireplace. And like I said, there were a lot of people were kind of sharing breakfast every morning and a Bible study. And it was just a really cool environment, I think. Chow is served, Dr. Fuller. Look at that. That is from the Flying Pig here in Cumberland County, Tennessee. My lovely bride, Miss Lisa, and there's our grandbaby, would bring us food every day. If you enjoy Southern fare, then you came to the right place. We try to get you covered every day with some good Southern cooking. And Miss Lisa did a freaking fantastic job of getting everybody taken care of. This is the range facility. We only really use the classroom out at the range for, I think, lunches. Is that right, Ed?
Yeah. All the classroom lecture work was done out on the range, on the line itself.
Yeah. So the first day, Dr. Fuller, I will just kind of move through some of this kind of quickly. We had to take care of the lawyers. We did a hold harmless agreement for shooting performance and American Warrior Society. We did a hold harmless for the range. We did a statement on, can we use your likeness? And those, like I said, two folks that, because of their work, you cannot use it. So we Taylor had them wear green bands around their wrist. So that way, if he saw them in his video, he knew to take them out. And then the medical questionnaire that you put me onto, I think was a fantastic idea. So wherever the students went, we had a stack of envelopes with everybody's medical issues there, sealed in an envelope with their name highly written on it. And if there was somebody went down, we immediately could hand that off to the EMTs that were working on them. We thank God we didn't have to use them, but just having them there gave me a peace of mind. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you have them fill it out. For those that don't, aren't fully briefed on this, we have them fill out the forms themselves with a series of questions. Medications you're on, who do we call if you're hurt, pre-existing medical conditions, et cetera, and then they sealed them up. They put them in the envelope, so we never saw them. Right? And we collected the envelopes and we gave them to our medic. And in the unfortunate event that you had a medical emergency and were unresponsive, when the medic showed up, we would not open the envelope. We would just hand the envelope to the medics and say, "This is what we know."
Yeah,
because we never saw it. There was never a HIPAA issue for us.
Exactly. So, and at the final lunch Friday, when everybody was about to depart, we gave them back, and everybody got to destroy theirs or whatever they wanted to do with it. But and part of the reason was, and you saw this, that range is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were really going to have to do a dust off to get you to a trauma center, because the nearest low level Crossville hospital was a little over an hour's drive away. So that's why this level of care was taken.
Yeah. And it, my experience is people tend to be a lot more honest if they know nobody else is looking at the form. And look, if you're so bad off that you're unresponsive, we need to know everything. The medics are going to need to know everything about you, because something horrible has happened, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that you get through that.
Yeah. So once we got the lawyers taken care of, we did some introductions, and then Justin Carroll rolled into his lock picking, lock defeat class. It was fantastic. Second time I took it. There's my brother and his lovely bride, Miss Sarah, using a bobby pin to open handcuffs. Why in a high risk environment might that be? Something you need to answer that for yourself. But if you're,
can I just say, there's some fantastic photography in this presentation.
Wonder who did that, Dr. Fuller. What happens if band camp stays at band camp? So there's a little behind the scenes look of the instructor cadre breaking bread with one another. And
there's way too many Marines in that picture. I'm going to point that out right now.
Oh yeah, like 6 Marines in that photo. Don't point them out. Here was the instructor cadre: Justin, Mike, me, of course, the esteemed Dr. Fuller, and our great friend Will Parker. There's some candid shots here. We've got, see, Colonel Brothers is in the center there, working on some close quarter shooting positions. We've got Warren and a gentleman who will remain nameless, working some weapon retention. Justin, of course, is working on some medical stuff. Here we go, working some, again, this is high risk environment course. This is the kind of stuff they're not going to teach you in your concealed carry handgun class. How do you retain the weapon in an entanglement? How do you manage distance with an adversary? Anything else you want to throw on that, Dr. Fuller?
Yeah, I mean, adversaries can be non-compliant, and sometimes you tell someone to stop and they don't. And that happens to law enforcement. It certainly can happen to CCW people. As you well know, Rich, criminals are much more used to having guns pointed at them than most folks. So you point a gun at somebody like we see on the right there and tell them to stop, they might not stop. You better have a plan. You better have a plan. And that was a big piece of what Mike was going over in this particular block of instruction.
Yeah, that guy on the right looks dodgy.
It does look a bit sketchy.
Just a little school circle breakout, going over some handgun stuff. And then we get into the rain.
Yeah, it couldn't decide if it wanted to rain there for the first half of the Thursday, but once it decided to get on board with the rain, it got on board with the rain. So happily, we had these overhead cover pieces. They made a big difference. And Mike's experience as an instructor really showed up, because he realized late in the day that he was going to have to start breaking people and putting them in their cars to warm up, because people were wet and cold. And if you're not used to being wet and cold for extended periods, that could rapidly turn into a dangerous situation. So I think Mike did a real good job of pulling people off the line, putting them in the cars and warming them up.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the Thursday night after the low vis night fire. My son came home and he's like, "Wow, Dad, I never done that." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Shooting at night in the rain with a flashlight." I'm like, "Well, you're in good company then, because about 99.9% of Americans have never done anything like that."
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to get sort of a nerd to the fight is coming, be ready tagline, but at its base, that's what you really got to think about. We're all used to training on the range when it's bright and sunny, and I've just had a nice meal, and I'm going to go have another nice meal, and it's warm, and I'm going to shoot at 7 yards from the draw with 2 hands on the gun. I can see everything. That's great. That has utility. But the truth of the matter is, you don't get into gunfights on a range when it's nice and sunny after you've had a nice meal. It happens in a time and place of the bad guy's choosing, and that very well may be in the dark, in the rain, in the cold, after you've been working a full day. So I think it's a very good idea to train under those circumstances.
Yeah, one of the things I don't have, and forgive me, I just threw up pictures I could find on my phone that either TC had sent me, or I'm sorry, Dr. Fuller had sent me. But seriously, so there's a lot I don't have in here. I wish I had some photographs of when Will took everybody outside and they were working each other, spraying, not spraying an active pepper spray agent at each other, but the water canisters, and learning how to manage the distance, and what spraying somebody, because again, when do you ever get to do that?
Right.
Under a guided instruction? You don't. So that was fantastic. Though the back and forth one-on-ones with the law of self-defense class, and I told Will going into it, I said, "Look, man, don't entertain a lot of these what if questions, because just give them a legal framework, because they can pull you down in the mud quick if you're not careful with what if this and what if that." But I think he did a really good job of, when those questions did come up, kind of guiding them through that. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. I was actually surprised when he asked me to go over post-shooting interrogation. Someone has dared to ring my doorbell, and my dog is not having it. Yeah, so
you need to catch up. Okay, good.
Delivery
driver. While you're dealing with that, we did that the last warrior camp when Andrew Branca come out and taught law of self-defense. There was a where we worked on he brought his screen, we did a simulation, and then you kind of role played with, hey, what did you see? When did you decide to shoot? Why did you decide to shoot? How many times did you shoot? What did you do when you stopped moving, etc.?
Yeah, and I think, and I don't say this to be self-serving, but I think it has a lot of utility, because we train real hard to put holes in paper in center mass and move and shoot and reload and whatnot. But there is a very serious problem. I am going to have to deal with this.
Yeah, take care of it, brother. Take care of it.
Pardon me.
No worries. While we're waiting on Dr. Fuller to come back, a couple of comments coming in. Let's get this one from Jim, because Jim was actually there. Jim said the 20-foot distance was a real eye-opener, talking about the Tula drill and understanding that 21 foot and in, they're going to close on you faster than you can draw your weapon. And that if you might think, that seems like I'd have enough space, but this is pretty much established doctrine, and Will did a great job of highlighting that to everyone. Doug says this training was out. Sounds amazing. Great job, gentlemen. Barry is on. Alan says, Lord willing, next year I will be able to attend. I sure would love to see you here. Brian says, what a tremendous program. I'm looking forward to the videos. Thank you, man. Doug once again says, low level light shooting with a firearm seems to have become a lost art due to weapon mounted lights. I see few instructors offering this training anymore, especially on a regular basis. You know what's interesting about that, Doug? I think you're right, but it would intuitively, it would sound like it would be more common because people are using weapon mounted lights, right? But it really is like, oh, I've got that covered. I got a light on my gun. What else do I need to know? Or I've got night sights on my gun. We talked about that. Like, okay, you got night sights. That's fantastic. Now you know whether your gun is aligned as to what your target is. You don't really have a clue. So working through, oh, Doug says I meant with a flashlight, not a firearm. Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think the flashlight work is important too, because a common mistake I see with flashlights and low light is people will shine the light, and if there's a head target, and they hit them in the feet, they'll waste time canting the gun and the light, trying to get the light into the eyes of the target, and now the barrel's misaligned, so they move the barrel back, and the flashlight comes off. And there's real utility in practicing that and realizing, hey, if I'm trying to blind them with the light, that's one thing. If I'm trying to illuminate them in order to identify a threat, that's a whole nother animal. And I don't have to waste time monkeying about centering the beam of light on their nose. I simply have to be able to identify that there's an articulable threat, and then I need to get to work.
Absolutely concur. Ted is on from Mississippi. Good morning, sir. Alan says, been instructing day and night recalls this month in the weather. You ain't training if you ain't snowing or raining. And we definitely got that. The first couple of days of weather here in Crossville, Tennessee was absolutely breathtaking, beautiful fall weather in Tennessee. And then when we got out there, it was not nice.
No, it doesn't. But, that's reality. I used to get really put out when I lived and worked in Vermont because 5 months out of the year, we could not qualify outside. And it wasn't a lack of willingness on the part of the instructors or even the students. As slothful as FBI agents can be in 30-degree weather with 5-foot snowbanks, but because we couldn't get the range plowed and we couldn't get the road plowed to the range. And so, the frustration came from, we live and work in this environment half of the year, and we're not training to fight in that environment, as well as we could. Because, hey, digging a gun out from under a parka in sub-zero weather with gloves or mittens on, and what do you do? That takes some practice. That is so true. Only to a certain extent.
That is so true, man. That goes again back to the dressing to the gun, which we talked about. And a lot of people saw that their gear just came apart on them, literally. I mean, some people's screws fell out, holsters flew off. I mean, and this is when you find out under simulated stress of the buzzer and people watching you and rain,
and I know that the people that happen to, you talk to them, they're a little embarrassed, they're upset, this didn't work, that didn't work. I look at that as a win. I really do, because you need to figure this out in the safety of a training environment where the pressure is merely self-imposed.
Yes.
So that you can say, what, this holster, I've always really liked it. Turns out it's crap. This belt looks really sharp. But wait a minute, I never even thought about it as a support system for my firearm. And now when I'm going to draw it, this cloth belt that I got with my Docker's pants, when I push down on the gun to draw, I push it halfway down my thigh. Yep. And the gun isn't in the same spot every time. And oh my goodness, I should probably fix that. Oh, this holster garbage. Or this gun that I really like, I'm shooting it at speed, I'm just all over the place. I've only ever practiced shooting at slow fire, maybe from a rest, and getting out and really wringing out your training has these secondary downstream positive impacts. And you know what? Hey, if you find out that your holster is garbage, or that you need to Loctite your screws, or that you need to change holsters, great. Absolutely great. Because the time to figure that out is not, in an alley while some 300-pound biker is methed out and trying to smash your skull with a crowbar.
And Gigi says, I definitely learned that not all gear is worth the material it's made of. Well, that's a fact. And here's the thing, you talked about self-imposed stress. Really, if you think about our environment, we love you. Every one of the instructors, every one of the students want nothing more than for you to succeed in a fight, on the range today, etc. And yet your gear's still falling apart, and you're still stressed out. And I don't know, maybe it's the nature of being human.
I think it is. It really is. You show up at these things, you say to yourself, I want to learn, but part of you is saying, I want to excel. I want to show what I'm capable of. I really want to push the envelope. And again, I get that. I do that myself. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if you learn something about your gear, you learn something about your training, that's what we're after. It's absolutely. So I define that as success. Some people say, well, this failed or that failed. I'm like, yeah, great. But you have learned something. So
yeah. Tony says, how did the open emitter optics work in the rainy, cold environment? Take that one.
They seem to work fine. I mean, Mike addressed it, and he talked about open emitters. And matter of fact, I think Mike was using an open emitter, but I could be
remember.
wrong.
I don't remember if it was open or closed.
I don't recall either. I think he mentioned something about his being one, but he had a bunch of different cert pistols that he was using, so maybe it was one of the cert. I don't know. But they have their struggles, right? You can get them wet and they can have raindrops on them, but I think you should prepare for that. I think you should plan for that. But the reality is, if the gun is concealed, it's not going to get soaking wet all that quickly. It won't be as big an issue as perhaps we kind of make it in our heads. And I'm that guy, right? I'm that guy that carries an extra magazine, even though I understand the statistics about the.
Let's talk about that, because one of the students pushed back on Richie. Dr. Fuller carries 2 magazines, and it seems like a no-brainer. This is a retired Marine Corps Sergeant Major, by the way. If you're watching this morning, Brian,
they can be very, very entrenched thinkers.
They can, but again, how many with the gun that you had on as we were talking? I should have brought this out. How many rounds did you have in that single stack magazine?
Oh, I think there's 9 rounds. I don't know.
Okay.
If I were to have the magazine in front of me, I would tell you, yes, there were 9 rounds in that magazine. So 9 plus 1 in the gun, and then an additional 8 on the hip.
Okay. So we're basically carrying the same amount of rounds.
Right.
That was my point.
Right. Except that I'm going to lose 2 to 3 seconds if I'm concealed in reloading in a combat situation.
And I'm not.
And you're not. And I get it. I absolutely understand the statistics. I understand that the likelihood of ever needing a firearm are pretty low. Needing to fire it or even lower, and firing it to the point of needing to reload is non-existent. I get that, but I can't get it out of my head. I just 2 is 1, 1 is none. I've seen too many guns fail in competitions. And what is my protocol in the event of a malfunction? Tap, rack, bang. If I don't get a bang, I'm stripping the mag. I'm not trying to do anything else. I'm stripping the mag and replacing the mag and getting back to work.
Yeah.
Now, will that actually happen in a civilian gunfight for an old retired grumpy guy like me in a peaceful town? Statistically speaking, I'm much more likely to get hit by a bolt of lightning while having a stroke. But that's sort of my training scars, lived experience, call it what you will. It's just the way I am. And it's a minimal inconvenience.
And see, I think that right there, just the tap racket ain't working, and I unload, reload the gun with a fresh mag. If I do that, I'm going to be in trouble, right? And that training scar may literally get me killed. So again, but you have to know these going in, and I think that's what you and I were trying to do. I'm not telling you what to think; we're just telling you how to think, right?
And trying to tee you up to think.
Yes.
Right. That's really what we did a lot. Like when we did the non-pervasive environment weapons class, it wasn't say, hey, you should carry this or you should carry that. It was put some thought into it. Use your own critical thinking capabilities coupled with the training that you've had, understanding what you are physically capable of, understanding what your training level is, and decide, and your acceptance of risk, right? I mean, you may not want to take risks on some of these things. Maybe you're more risk-taking than I am, but whatever these things are, you have to think this through. You have to have a plan. And that's the be ready of the American Warrior Show mantra is, these are hidden thought processes that you need to go through in order to get to where you need to be.
Yeah. And I was, if you look back at the picture of the instructor staff that we were blessed to have for HREC this year, I mean, there's close to 100 years of military service, dozens and dozens and dozens of foreign countries operated in, 50, maybe close to 50 years of law enforcement experience amongst us, and 100 years of carrying concealed. So again, I mean, this is an opportunity to ask questions, and that's why these breakout sessions and breaks and lunches together were, I hope, invaluable to the student. To really,
and there was actual combat experience, hand to hand, firearm, artillery. I mean, there was a lot of experience there, not just in walking it and talking about it, but actually having been there and done it and understanding what the reality is during the fight and after the fight.
And none of us were ever like, I'm not really comfortable talking about that. It's like, hey, we're here, we're alone. What do you got? And it was offered up.
And it was that safe space, right?
Yes.
I hope the students felt that way, but I know that the instructor staff felt that way. That look, this is a safe environment. We can have these conversations about potentially difficult topics, and it's not going to come back to bite anybody. We're really trying to push back the frontiers of ignorance. We're really trying to impart knowledge that will help people in the gravest extreme, to quote Mr. Ayub.
True. My brother says Mike et al. Brought some of these individuals from the lowest level of training to a higher level through the course. It was amazing to watch. Well, thank you, sir.
I feel much more confident in my beer maintenance and care, having been in Jeff's company. I mean, that thing looks like a beard, only bigger. My goodness.
Jeff can grow one of those in an afternoon.
That's what he said.
Cruz is on. Good morning, all. Simplify. Good to have you on, sir. Jim says questions provoke critical thinking. Glad to hear that, sir. So again, this was kind of at the range. We discussed safety, morning 1, minute 1, and then once we got out to the live fire portion, we went over it all again. Primary and secondaries were established with regard to who was going to triage and who was going to do what, and who was responsible, and who was the driver and which vehicle and where the keys are. All that stuff was covered because a lot of the classes that I've taken, that level of care is not taken, and I'm nervous on the firing line. I got to be honest with you, because it's like I know there's no plan, and if somebody gets shot, it's going to be a shit show.
It's going to be cockroaches and the lights flip on. Yeah, I mean, even to the point where when we lost our secondary medevac vehicle at one point, it was seamless. We right away, picked a second vehicle, told the driver they were now, asked the driver if they were willing to become the secondary, made the plans, where are the keys, and it just trucked right along.
Yeah, put the address in the phone, because there was a bridge out and there was only literally one way to get to the hospital. If you went the most direct way, you were gonna have a bad day because the bridge was not there anymore.
It was not. I saw it. It was not there.
So here's a little taste of the low light in the driving rain. The targets were bagged and the students just rolled with it and got cold and wet and sandy,
muddy.
Muddy.
I mean, your son was up to the gunnels in a muddy spot, and he just giggled about it. He just thought it was. I was giving him a hard time about it, and he was just rolling right through it. Didn't bother him in the slightest.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, this is everybody received their warrior camp certification on the high risk environment course. It clearly states what the curriculum was. There you go.
And they're very cool coin. Yeah,
we got this. This is the first year we did an AWS camp coin, and I'm kind of embarrassed that we didn't do it before, but there will be a commonality moving forward. I think that's good that people can have something that only if it says on the back, I think warrior camp alum, you're only going to get that if you actually come and attend. But and then the curriculum spells out what you got, what was covered during your 40-hour week. But we also had individual breakdown certificates of the stuff. Why is having these kind of certifications important if you end up in some sort of lethal force encounter?
You give it to your attorney, because you can then speak to what you were trained on and what you know. Why did you do what I did? You did. Your response to cross-examination could be, I don't know, it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. Or your response can be, I took a 40-hour course with the American Warrior Society, during which time I had 16 hours of professional firearms training delivered to me by Mike Seeklander, a national and international firearms champion, a competitive champion, a former law enforcement officer, a experienced trainer with over 20 or 25 years of experience, et cetera, et cetera. And, oh, by the way, he's on my expert witness list, and he's going to be in here to tell you what I was trained on and how well I did.
And I was coached on the line by Dr. Fuller from FTU fame.
And I've dressed better ever since. But you can see the point there is that having these certificates, it's interesting the way things have developed, because 20 years ago, having the certificate was like, oh, cool, I have a certificate. But the reality now is it becomes a potential linchpin in your legal defense should you find yourself in this situation where you need to talk to an attorney.
Yes, Tony says prior knowledge and experience is admissible in court. It most certainly is. So once again, just want to show you our handsome group of students and instructors from this year's HREC. If you have some thoughts as to like whether you attended the course this year or you didn't attend the course this year, and you want to say, hey, Rich, you know what I'd really like to see next year? You know, you guys kind of focus on this or that, or maybe you could add to the curriculum this or the other. I'm really interested in that because I want to give you guys what you want. But sometimes, you know, you're going to get what you need. You're not going to get what you want. And I'll be honest with you, sitting through a legal lecture, as compelling as Will made it, is still, it's a lecture. And like I told everybody very clearly in the course, I will never do one of these without a law self-defense lecture. You're never going to get it. Because if you don't, as Rory Miller is most famously said, if you don't understand the legal framework of using force against somebody, you're just trained to go to prison. There was a guy on, he's got a YouTube channel now, but he ended up doing 2 or 3 years in a Georgia prison, and he talked about it. I was very candid on one of his things. They have a law. It's under kidnapping. It's like theft. No, it's like I can't remember what it's called. It's not important. But he had grabbed his girlfriend in a parking lot and pulled her into the car. And everybody's exactly, and everybody saw it. It was on video, whatever. And the dude did 2 or 3 years in prison. So, and that's one level use of force. Now let's think about taking a human being's life as a use of force. So and this is an interesting thing to think about if you haven't considered it. The law gives you the ability to be judge, jury, and executioner and literally kill someone on the spot and walk away freely. Whereas if the state wants to execute somebody, it's going to have to go through jury selection, a voir process. It's going to have to go through a trial. It's going to go through the appellate process. It could go all the way to the Supreme Court. You're going to have to wait years. It's going to take all the instruments of government before they can, and decades before they can finally end your life. Whereas the law says you can do this, but if you do one thing wrong, you're going to die in prison potentially, and you're going to lose everything you worked your ass off for. So therefore, I say all that to say, at warrior camp, stand by for a legal action.
Well, it's funny. I've heard accusations made against Andrew Bronco that he's teaching people how to get away with murder. Simply not the case.
No,
it's simply not the case. And he'll tell you, I mean, if you sit through his actual classes, as I've done dozens of times, it's a class that largely focuses on, you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to carry a gun? Because this is the potential downside. Now, here are the potential upsides, but it's very much a rules of the game course. This is the game that you've entered into. These are the rules. And you and Mike years ago, and we've talked about this, I don't know how many times, where you got a lot of pushback when Mike suggested that getting training with you, how to operate your firearm, and by extension, legal training, was a really good idea. And people went bananas with you guys.
We were murdered. Not a single positive email came in after that one singular comment in a 2-hour show. It's like, maybe it's a good idea to get some training. Oh, you shit. I mean, it was brutal. And I responded to each one of them, telling them about where they could kiss.
But the truth of the matter is, nobody makes you get swim lessons. But it's a really good idea to have you teach your kids how to swim, right? I mean, nobody forces you to do that. And yes, I get it. It's a constitutional right. And I'm not, as you were, you're not advocating for lessening your right. But use it responsibly. Get some training. Learn how to do this stuff.
I want everybody to carry. Every law-abiding American citizen should be carrying a gun. I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, but guess what, folks? You need to be trained. And as this week showed, people that thought they were ready weren't ready, or they were ready, but the gear wasn't ready, or they were ready and the gear was ready, but they weren't ready for the environment, i.e. the rain, I mean, so that's what training exposes.
Yeah, and I think Mike especially did a really good job in tailoring the training to where the person was. So, we had people in there that were very good shooters, that were very competent gun handlers. And we had other people there that had never handled a gun at any level of pressure. And, he was able to tailor the class in such a way that everybody, I think it's safe to say that everybody walked away with value added. regardless of where they were on that particular spectrum, which is no mean feat for those of you that are not instructors. I will tell you that can be a little tricky. And that's why you'll see a lot of times instructors will bucket a course. Well, this is the level 1 course. This is the level 2 course. This is the level 3 course. And your skill levels, minimum skill levels, are correspondingly higher as you move through. Or instructors will require you to take their level 1 course before they'll let you take their level 2 course. And that's just an effort to get people in generally the same place so that the curriculum can be tailored to that place and we can move everybody along much more easily. It's a difficult thing to do, to take people that are all over that spectrum and train them effectively. But they did a good job there.
Yeah, and the same thing with like the law is kind of the medical thing. I mean, I won't belabor it, but if you're not ready to treat a casualty, maybe you should be. There was I put it up in the American Weir Society closed group on our Facebook page, where 2 adult a-holes having a road rage incident on a highway ended in a shooting, and the only person that got hit was the innocent 11-year-old son in the back of one of them's car. And it's like, your actions have consequences, and do you really want your child to pay for them? And oh, by the way, if you had a medical kit and some training in the car, could you have saved your son's life? The driver, I don't know if you saw the video, but the driver who lost his son is laying on the roadway just screaming and crying. It's too late now, that it's over. Your child is dead. He's never going to go to school again. He's never going to grow up and have a girlfriend and have children because of your actions. So again, the time to invest in these courses is now. I'm telling you right up front, I'm probably going to run to at least 1 next year, probably 2 of these. So if you can make it to 1, great. If you don't, then I wish you nothing but well. Hasta luego. But, Don has a great point. He says, with every right comes a personal responsibility.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I really look forward to next year's classes. I hope I make the cut for an instructor re-invite. And if I do, I'll have enough sense to bring my subarctic sleeping bag.
I should have put that picture in. Damn it.
I am thankful you did not. For those that don't know the picture he's talking about, the second night in the house there, I was in a very cold room, and Rich said, he sent me a text, at the end of the day, everything okay? And I sent him a picture of me. I looked like I was ready for an Arctic expedition. I was all snoodled up in that freaking blanket, and yeah, it was a little embarrassing. But those of you who've ever been cold know that the fashion does not count for anything in a cold environment.
Yeah. And, I think I got a lot of really good feedback too. And it isn't in the slideshow, but we did a Thursday night after the night shoot. Everybody came back to the farm, and we stood around the fire. Folks got warm. We had a bourbon tasting. We had a really nice meal. And it's an opportunity to really hang out and spend some time together away from the guns and the gear and stuff. And it was a really memorable moment for me because, and I'll be, without being overly emotional about it, I'll tell everybody what I said. When we started this 11 years ago, I honestly thought we're going to put our content online. People can pay to play. If they want to engage with the content, great. And then it was like, okay, well, we need a podcast to let everybody know that it's out there and hopefully they can take advantage of it. And then somebody said, will you do a camp? Okay, yeah, we'll do a camp. And then I got to meet the people. And I'm like, my God, these are some of the most amazing, like, you and Will and Justin and all these people that I've met. That I could go all day, Doc and Chi-Chi, and, the list is long. I mean, having improved my life in ways that I just can't describe. I mean, it's been it's a big family, people that are just AWS members. Rich, I'm rolling to Tennessee. Can I crash at your place for a night? Sure. I don't want to make that an everyday occurrence, but I will tell you that once I get to know these people, it's hard to say no because they are like family.
Yeah. I mean, I've blown through town going from point A to point B and just called you up and we've stopped and had lunch.
Oh yeah.
Didn't have time to stay, but this was first time I got to meet your brother in person. Mm-hmm. And which apparently surprised a lot of people because they're like, oh, you know TC. And he's like, no, we've never been in the same room. I'll do you one better. We'd never been in the same state.
Wow.
At the same time. But nonetheless, I felt like it was like, oh, I finally made him. Great. Let's continue that conversation we were having. Let's do the things we were doing all through AWS.
I know. That was an unforeseen, amazing consequence of doing this, and it's made it all the more worthwhile. Barry says making plans now. Good. I promise to market it as good as I possibly can to let you guys know when it's coming and how you can take advantage of it. Dr. Siebert says it's an honor for us to be a member. Well, it's an honor to have you, sir. Closing thoughts, TC, over anything about HREC?
Well, I hope Barry Childs can make it next year, because then I can carpool with him. We have to go to lunch again here soon, Barry, by the way. We're a little overdue. It was really a good course. And I know it sounds self-serving because I was on the cadre, but I got to sit through a bunch of the classes and I learned stuff, which was not in my plan. I'm not saying that, I'm above that sort of thing, but usually when I teach, right? Just like you do. I'm here to teach. I'm here to do this one thing. But the opportunity to sit through Justin's course, and I've had, I don't know how much medical stuff, great class with not just specific ideas and techniques, but specifics for this is the piece of gear you should get. Do not get this piece of gear. Do not get that piece of gear. This is the one. And this is why I say that. Same with the locks. I've sat through Andrew Bronca's course, like I said, dozens of times. Andrew and I have been friends for 30 plus years. Still learned something from Will teaching that topic again. As you know, I'm a firearms instructor on my own right. I've been doing it for 20 plus years. I taught at the federal level. I have my own company. I get out in front and teach people. Took a pearl of wisdom from Mike, from watching him teach. So it was fantastic from my perspective as a participant learner. I can't imagine it was anything more than even better for the students who were completely immersed in that experience. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. If you have the time and the means, you should absolutely come out there and make this a priority next year.
And I would say, yeah, thank you, TC. I really appreciate all that. and I will say also, don't let the fear of the unknown hold you back. I highly encourage you to. I mean, we had a guy in the class who broke his back a couple months ago in an accident, and he was out there, with a brace on, was able to do everything, and we took special care in that. We had every age and skill ability out there, so I'm giving you absolutely no excuse. There's no out for you.
Plenty of former Marines, so we had to use small words, which I thought was really a good plan, and it worked well. A lot of times you can just grunt and point, and that seemed to be an effective methodology as well. So all skill levels, all education levels, all intellect levels are welcome.
Yeah. And really that kind of wraps it up, man. It was a great course. It was a hell of a lot of fun to put it on for you guys. And if you're listening to us in a podcast to come, or you're watching this video later, I hope to see you out there. Honest to God, really do. I think we'll have a lot of fun together and learn from each other. And hopefully we'll see you in one of the courses next year.
I look forward to it myself.
All right, Dr. Fuller, if you would, please. Oh, Dr. Bodson says, sorry, I missed it. Well, you got no excuse next year, doctor. I'm telling you right now.
That's very true.
One or two coming up. So please get on it.
Because as you know, Dr. Bodson, as anyone who watches this show with any regularity, the fight is coming. Be ready.